both of these players getting ready for game one. Beforehand, you know what I'm going to ask you. Who you got to give the edge to?
I mean, Tailbot, he is on fire. He's had, great games the past few series in this tournament, and also online on the ladder as well. The best player the last season of, in season 3 of Pro Ladder. So great for Tailbot, but 2 Foglets, not so great. Let's see if we can mulligan those away and banish them forever, because you want to see those only being pulled with your fog effects and not from hand, of course.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to see those in your hand, and we've seen plenty of bad mulligans this tournament so far. Really cast a shadow over many games here. But both players look like they've managed to fix their hand a little bit, and both players holding onto their silver spies too.
And the Dagon Mirror right away, I mean, a very interesting deck, obviously an interesting matchup. You see a lot of effects like Fogs and like Arcsport taking every single turn in a very long round, so it's hard to calculate for both players and, casters as well. A lot goes on in this matchup, and it's, really tough. You have to really think what plays to make first to get the maximum value, the optimal value to every single play you make.
And that's going to be the dry pass for Tailbot. He's deciding that is the optimal value of his play there.
And I completely agree with that. I mean, a mirror, you always want to try and dry pass if you can. And Hanachan enabling his Brewis just a little bit there, also enabling the Slizzard as well. We talked about that last series. It could mess up his Brewis later on, we're going to find out. But for now, I think a very clean, open play to enable that Slizzard right away.
Definitely, and it looks like the draws are coming in. Royal Decree coming out for Tailbot, whereas Wispess was added to the hand of Hanachan. So some key differences between these two players' consume decks, Royal Decree being one of the major ones.
Yeah, and both players running Wispess Tribute. I think the only 2 players maybe running this in the Dagon Deathwish lists. It's not something you see every single time, but both players are big fans of cards like Mandrake and Monster's Nest, which I think are very versatile, and they can get a lot of value in certain matchups. And also marching orders from Tailbot, not something we've seen much in this tournament.
No, not at all. And also, funny you mentioned Mandrake. We've seen Mandrake banishing Dow have some serious impact on games, so I expect to see that make a play here for sure.
And of course, marching orders into the Sheetrel is a great combo that Tailbot has thought of it and brought into this open tournament in this deck list. And I think it really, really works. I mean, it's obviously straight dry pass from Hanachan. We're going to see the longest, most gruesome Dagon Deathwish Mirror of all time. A brutal 13-card Dagon Deathwish Mirror.
Oh my goodness, that is going to be a 26-card round 3, and that's ignoring the spies in both players' hands as well. So settle in, because there's going to be a lot of fog and a lot of Arcaspore pings, and we're going to have to count them all.
And now we're looking at any bricked cards these players may have. Slizzards are quite tricky, and also, the Brewis, of course, they can create some pretty tricky situations. A lot to think of here.
And also, don't forget, there's also Foglets that can come out on the mulligan, so there's a strong potential for both players to have dead cards in hand in this round 3.
And of course, the bigger the round is, 13 cards, the less that these bricked cards matter, because obviously they're going to total for a lesser value on average of all cards being played, but still, they could be, the difference between, in a mirror, of course, cards are very similar, decks are very similar, so one bricked card could be the difference between a win and a loss here.
Now, it's interesting to see Tailbot not going for the Barbragazi here from Monster's Nest, because you think that is the only play that can give you direct value for the next round. But what do you think his reasoning is behind that?
He could be looking for a Rot Fiend in a very long round. Rot Fiends can, get a ton of value, and if that Rot Fiend is more value than what Monster Nest can give you from the Barbragazi, and it's worth to keep that, then it might just be the correct decision. I mean, in a really long round, you're looking at a completely stacked row, at least one of them, with 9 units.
My goodness, so this is going to be a very long round, 13 cards apiece, both players holding their spies, but with several very tricky cards to make use of. I mean, Slizzard for one, there is a unit there, but that then will have negative synergy with his Brewess, so there is all sorts of decisions to be made for both players here. But I would say, initially looking at it, Hanachan's hand looks a little bit more difficult to manage.
Slizzard looks to be dead right now. We do have 2 Slizzards in Hanachan's hand, and one was played in round 1, obviously, so at the moment it's dead. Obviously we have a lot of consume effects and triggering effects that could fix that, but right now it is a dead card for Hanachan. We don't see a dead Wispess Tribute for Tailbot, even though he does have Monster Nest and Mandrake, because it's not in his hand, and Royal Decree could still hit a Brewis Ritual, for example, so Tailbot is clean on that side, and no Foglets, of course, in either player's hand, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah, no Foglets is a minor miracle considering how things have went so far this weekend, but both players managing to have relatively unscathed hands, although some difficult sequencing to be done by both of our players here. This is going to be a very interesting opener, because it's when do you want to commit that weather onto a row, because with such a long round, you have to be confident that your weather is going to find its maximum value. If you hit a singular unit, maybe, a Slizzard or a Dow, it's going to struggle to really, really find long-term value.
Although with the Frightener, it's always easy to kind of set up a row, at least one of them, to guarantee some value there. But like you said, it's really important to think about the most optimal plays and how to get the full effect from your Arc Spores, your Fogs, and really all the cards you're going to be playing. They're going to get so many points over a 13-card round. It's really, really important here.
It's going to be fascinating to see how Hannah-chan chooses to proceed. Woodland Spirit going down onto the mid row.
Yeah, it's a good decision. He knows that this Dow is going to, with his Deathwish effect, there's going to be more units spawning in that same row, so he has a pretty good chance at finding guaranteed value here, no matter what, on this row, especially if Arc Spores also jump into that Fog.
Definitely, and in return, he has set up a couple of okay rows himself. When it comes to weather, the mid row is looking like it could be fogged, but does Tailbot want to commit this early on?
And Tailbot may be missing a few Arc Spores. Only one in his hand really is going to maybe cost him. I mean, not too many Deathwish units, it looks like. The Dow there is going to help, but missing a few Arc Spores in such a long round, I think. And also, his deck list is missing an Ozroll, which is really interesting. A card we've been seeing have great success as a finisher in these games, not present in Tailbot's list, instead opting for that Sheetroll and Marching Orders combo.
Yeah, it's very interesting, very unique package, something that Tailbot's really evolved as a player, actually. He used to almost have a reputation for bringing very, very cookie-cutter decks to tournaments, but seeing him include unique little combo packages like that has really upped his game as a player, and also as a viewing experience. Like, I think he's really great to watch these days because of cool things like the Sheetroll combos that you get to see.
There we see Woodland Spirit still a hand for Tailbot. Obviously, the sooner you drop that, the better. Trying to rack up those points as soon as possible. And all players, both players looking to get those Arc Spores, those Fogs out as early as possible, and then transition into Archgriffin, Cyclops, and the rest of the cards that don't really matter too much when you play them. They're just solid amount of points at any time, really.
Absolutely. I'm wondering what Tailbot's target for his Mandrake is going to be here. He may wait to see a Dow come out. It would be a significant point advantage for him were he to disable it.
Or even a Frightener heal. When we see both players playing Frightener into that Fog, for example, it's going to be ticked down by a lot of points over this very long round. So you can maybe heal for something like 15 or 17 points on that Frightener. So could be a massive play from that Mandrake to get some value in this kind of weird matchup for Mandrake.
Well, there we go. There are the Fog lanes for this long round. Still got Dagon to come from Hannah-chan, but I expect it would reply similarly soon, as he doesn't want to have too many turns without his double Fog ticking, as Tailbot now has his. So I expect to see Hannah-chan go for Dagon and just reset the tempo. There we go. There's Dagon. And a Fog on the siege row.
Only 2 Foglets, no Vader Makers for either player, so we're only going to be seeing 4 Fogs total in this match, and also no weather clears, so this is going to stick, for the rest of this turn, so get used to this Fog effect on the board, because it's not going away anytime soon.
No, it's certainly not.
Marching Orders into that Sheetroll is a guaranteed combo already in Tailbot's hand. You can get his Rot Fiend and get quite a bit of points in a stacked row. You have to obviously wait quite a few turns. Some cards like Arc Spore and Fog are going to play early. Other cards like Sheetroll you want to play as late as possible to get maximum value. And that value is looking quite juicy in a long round like this one.
So what do you think Hannah-chan's plans for, well, either that Slizzard or the Brew-S are? Both going to be relatively difficult to find value from.
Yeah, we'll have to, kill those Arc Spores later on, but then obviously if you res Arc Spores late as well, they're not really getting full value, you're just kind of cycling them through. And, it changes things quite a bit, but there's a Frightener guaranteeing that Fog value in the front row, doing it quite early as well, which is going to signal, I think, a great Mandrake for Hannah-chan in 5 or 6 turns. Obviously, no other big units in that row. I think he wants to keep it that way just to make sure the Frightener gets down to that 4 or 2 point, value, but it's going to be a lot of points for that Mandrake.
There's the Ancient Foglet. Hannah-chan, definitely a fan of that card. We've already seen him use it today, and it is going to find pretty good value, but also potentially provide a great late Mandrake target for Tailbot. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. Monster's Nest into Ancient Foglet is another option for Mandrake to find value in this matchup. And really, it's the subtle things like those cards that don't normally find value, where if you find value and you get 6 or 7 points over your opponent, they could decide the game. So both players obviously thinking how to get the most value out of every single card in their matchup, in their hands for this matchup, which is kind of odd because mirrors, obviously every little thing matters.
Yeah, mirrors do end up being rather weird. We're yet to see Hannah-chan's Spy come down, for instance. He hasn't answered the Frightener yet, but of course he has all round to do so. And already a large point gap, 39 points in Hannah-chan's favour. But these Rot Fiends, I feel, could be very damaging from that Marching Orders. If that hits a full row, although there are 1-strength tokens on the melee row, if those Rot Fiends find a full row, it could be a really great sweep for Tailbot.
We see the Ancient Foglet. It could have been played in the range or the siege row just to make sure that maybe Mandrake loses some value. But then again, you want to maybe clear out those rows if possible. And there aren't that many movement effects in this matchup. So Tailbot may be hoping to empty out those siege and range rows, whereas Hanatian has his rows really, really full in both the melee and the ranged. Could be game deciding.
Yeah, he certainly does. I mean, his Dow is gonna, Tailbot's Dow that is gonna die next turn. So the Griffins are going to be denied to target until the other one is placed on the board. I mean, you can Griffin the Archospores, but it's no way, well, it's half the value of playing it on a Dow, so interesting board state for Tailbot right now, lacking his main target for those Griffins.
You could always get Brewist Ritual, of course, and get that Dow right back up, so he has really no rush here. The point gap doesn't matter too much. It's more about the total points at the end of this round because there's no real passing, no bluffing involved in a long round 3. It's really just optimal plays and maximum value to try and win it out. Like round 2 and round 1, you can obviously try and bluff your way into a good pass, but here, not so much. And that Dow, straight away, banished to the Shadow Realm, completely gone from the game.
And that Archospore dies and only hits a 1 strength wolf, so definitely not the value that Tailbot wanted to find from that Archospore. Although it is now enabled as a Resurrect, he's not going to be happy with that random damage, just hitting a 1 strength.
There's that Frightener. Kind of disabling the Mandrake a bit because there is that Ancient Foglet there, so it will be basically capped out, losing 1 point per turn instead of 2. And also, messing up with that Frightener for the heal, so in some ways a good play for Hanatan, in other ways not so good because Tailbot, obviously, he gets to dodge that Mandrake value on that Foglet, but he could always just heal that Frightener in his front row. And the Mandrake on the Dow also messes up with the Slizzard, the Brewist Ritual. I mean, it has a lot of long-standing effects, not just on that Dow dying and not allowing those Archgriffins and the Cyclops to get value, but also messing up with his other plays.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how he proceeds here. I wonder if you can almost bait the Mandrake with a Dow, because he does, of course, have the Brewist to res it, although it looks like we may see the Brewist coming out now. There it is.
Yeah, Whisper's Tribute would be dead, so instead he goes for this Dow Archospore play, which I think is quite good at this point. He has it. It's a possible play here, whereas Hanatan obviously does not have the possibility. So Tailbot finding a bit more value with that gold, and like you said, he enables this Archgriffin or the Griffin combo and the Cyclops combo.
It's the Vengeance Mandrake coming from Hanachan, going to banish that Dow, but Tailbot, little does he know, has another one in hand, so that Mandrake just going to be finding 6 value in this match.
And that range row very quickly losing targets for that Fog to hit, only 1 strength units left, and obviously there's no more Dow there, so it's not going to be an ongoing, pool of units just popping up in that row. Instead, it's probably going to focus on that front row, but it does enable a better Rotfiend as well, so both players have to be careful with what cards are being played here. Hanatan does not actually have Rotfiend in his list, so Tailbot has 1 less thing to worry about.
Yeah, he's also got 1 more tool to use as that Dow comes down, enabling those Griffins to find huge value when played onto it. 17 points apiece when they spawn the lesser Dow.
I honestly think that the shield drill is going to be really game deciding here. I think it might be the difference.
I think we've seen that Rotfiend hit huge rows already, and it is a huge impact.
Going to be the biggest difference, I think, between both these deck lists. And the Ozreal, they're eating the Dow. Not normally the Ozreal we expect. Normally expect it to be quite a bit bigger at 18, but still a decent silver, and also denying some synergy there for Tailbot.
Yeah, and I think this diminished fog value as well that Hanachan's finding on Tailbot's ranged row is not going to help things as Tailbot slowly starts pulling away in terms of tempo.
Tailbot making sure that there's space for the Dow to really unleash his little baby golems to come out, because otherwise, I mean, if you have the full row, there's just nothing happens. They don't appear. So Tailbot making sure to try and get max value from that Dow there.
He certainly is, while still managing to provide halved fog value in the ranged row, though that Archospore is going to mess things up.
And the Dow there almost dead. Hanachan, he knows that there's more Griffins coming out, so he has to try and get rid of that as soon as possible. But Tailbot probably going to be quickly using one more of these Death Wish triggers, either the Cyclops or the Griffin there, to get some value out of that.
I expect the Griffin may come down, just to make sure that he uses it while he has the space on the row, and of course, because Cyclops, you want a nice high health unit to do the removal. So Griffin comes down, Tailbot increases his lead to 16 points.
Both rows now with Fog, on Hanachan's side a bit empty now, starting to dwindle down, especially that front row there. Going to be losing on full value by the next turn. And the Archgriffin soon to not have a place to dance in that back row. It's soon to be full, so only ranged in front row. And a tied game with 3 cards left for each player.
Yeah, this is an extraordinarily close game. It's going to come down to the Sheetroll of Vergen combo, potentially. However, Reconnaissance is yet to come out for Tailbot.
Can't really hit the Dow. He's going to have to hit the Arc Spore here. It's kind of an early explosion there, but I mean, it's something you have to do, I think.
There he goes, the Griffin going down, triggering the Arcaspore. Siege row is full, which is why he cannot target the Dow, as it would have nowhere to spawn the elementals.
And that Arc Spore hitting that unit in the range row. One more point for Tailbot. Little things that might matter here.
Yeah, although he is running out of space, he's going to eventually have to put something in that range row, although now he's not, because the space was just opened up on the siege. But Arcaspore, of course, being helpful as ever, decides to jump into the fog damage.
It looks like a Sheetroll into Rotfiend into that back row for Hannah-chan, it looks like. Now that there is space for that Rotfiend to go into that back row.
Yeah.
That Rotfiend effect, because the front row and the range row really aren't looking good at all. And again, a tied game at 2 cards. How much longer can these tied games continue?
Here it comes. Here comes the Sheetroll of Vergen. That is going to consume the Rotfiend from Tailbot's deck, which will be placed in the siege row to activate. Striking for 11 points of damage there, 13 even, I can't count, and giving Tailbot a pretty reasonable point lead. But again, it's going to get replied to with Brewess.
Another Arc Spore dying there. Big point difference, but Brewess is also a great card to have here. Obviously, Arc Spore just died, so enables that res there.
Yeah, resing an Arcaspore in this shorter round to go, though. You're essentially resing, 8 or 9 points. So, 1 point ahead with a Cyclops to come down. Cyclops will most likely be hitting the Arcaspore, I imagine. He's got to hope it does not hit a 1-strength unit, because when the point gap is this close, that could be terrible.
And Fox still hitting both rows on Hannah-chan's side. Although Hannah-chan does have 2 Arc Spores, and Tailbot only has 1.
Go for the Dow because the space is open, of course, and killing the Brewess.
Big gap here.
Big gap indeed.
Hannah-chan only has a Slizzard left.
Is there enough on it?
2 points of fog damage from both players. It's going to be a really close call here. Gets the Archgriffin.
No, it's not going to be enough. Tailbot is going to take this first game and go 1-0 up in the grand final.
Yeah.
Go and open 4. What an incredibly close. That was tied with 2 cards remaining in a 28 card round 3.
But like we said, that Sheetroll Marching Orders combo, it guarantees you get that combo for a late, a really long round. And I mean, it showed why. That was just a massive swing that really Hannah-chan could not catch up to. And I think it really shows that the fact that Tailbot brought this list with Sheetroll and Marching Orders and that single Rotfiend, whereas Hannah-chan did not have that Rotfiend in a long round. I think that gave Tailbot the edge. And in the end, first game for Tailbot, still a lot left in this series, but what a great match to start it off.
There certainly is many games left to go before a mirror match that was incredibly intense and close. But now we will be seeing Hannah-chan sticking with his Dagon and Tailbot moving on to his Crack and Crate.
And Tailbot bringing a list that we've seen had a few problems. It's still a really good list, but it could get breaked at points with the Bone Talismans and with the Protectors as well. So Tailbot has to be very careful to count, what cards he's used, what cards he has left. We saw a bit of a res onto a dead Protector that last game of the series against Colomon. So he has to be very careful what cards he has and really, take his time, no pressure, and think about every single play here. And Hannah-chan just fighting.
Not Crack, he's playing Bran, of course. So he goes to the traditional Bran opener. Olgerd, Morkvarg, and Ceres.
And Hannah-chan fighting to stay alive here. Obviously trying to claw back into the series and contest for a spot in as a winner, finally, of an open tournament.
Both of these players playing to finally take the crown of being a Gwent Open champion and reward you all with their lovely premium bronze card of choice, which I believe will be Swallow for Tailbot and Slave Driver for Hannah-chan, I believe.
Exactly so. So Swallow, one of the best cards in the game.
Naturally.
Nice pose, and Tailbot loves it.
And Slave Driver, the best voice line in the game.
And and a really good card, that guarantees value all the time. So
yeah,
2 great cards for all our viewers.
Yeah, and if you're wondering why it's a bronze card, by the way, it is of course because Gwent Open is the bronze tier competition for the Gwent Masters circuit. So if you would like to win your favorites lovely premium silver card, make sure you join us at Challenger next month.
And if you want to win a gold card, make sure to join us
World Masters.
a little bit down the line, January of 2019, for Gwent World Masters Tournament.
You see, talking about World Masters is like looking at the sun. It's too big, you can't do it. Gotta wait till we get there.
And right away, Tailbot deciding to try and milk out, bleed out some of these long round threats from Hannah-chan, like the Dagon, like the Woodland Spirit, and like these Arc Spores that can get a ton of value in the long round. He's going to play out his strategy for a bit here, at least try and bleed out some of these tools from Hanachan.
Yeah, Hanchan's going to immediately recognize that and set up his long round value, dropping the Woodland Spirit, but that already is a very, very key long round tool.
And again, we've said it multiple times in this tournament, no weather clear here. There's no Grimace, there's no way to copy, create card with him into something that Hanachan has, because Hanachan also does not have a weather clear. I mean, no one's brought it to this tournament, basically.
Yeah, absolutely, and we saw this with Dutch Boy earlier, right? He needed to get those fogs out of Dagon, but that does come at a cost very often.
And Tailbot with this Skellige list, no real long round threat. I mean, you're looking at Marauders as the only thing. There's no Longship, there's no Burn of Brand, so it's tough, when your opponent dry passes. If you have to play into a long round 3 to get that card back, or risk it in a round 2, it makes it a bit tough. He has great finishers, of course, with Trish Telekinesis and cards like Bone Talisman, but it's a tricky deck to play, I think.
Bears are raining out from Tailbot. Of course, his Skellige deck very much so bear-based, with its Bone Talismans and its Bear Masters, so plenty of Voitech to go around.
And here the Arcspore train starts. Anyone wants to board it has a chance right now for the next 3 turns. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of Arcspores being played from Hanachan, maybe even Dagon to get rid of that second fog, clear out of the deck, make sure the mulligans are nice and clean for the round 3, the top deck mode. But Tailbot has to be very, very careful in this round 2.
Yeah, he certainly does. He doesn't want to lose the ability to get that card back.
Theirs, of course, will come out in this round at some point, I believe, and that will be an easy way to boost up that tempo swing, and also have it for round 3 as well. There's quite a few reses in this deck, so I think he'll definitely have a chance to, but he has to be careful to try and not fall behind. I mean, once Dagon and the Archspores and all these fogs start ticking, every single turn you play into this, you're playing into Hanachan's plan more and more.
Certainly are. Hanachan wondering what he wants to spend.
Also looking to set up cards like Brewers for round 3, making sure there's Death Wish units there, Slidges as well. Could be dead cards if you don't set it up properly. Be very careful with that as well. Dagon could come down soon, but that would also give maybe Tailbot a chance to pass as well. So
yeah, Dagon coming out is a very key moment for Tailbot to pass, I think, because as soon as you get that fog out of the long round 3, it's a key asset gone. Dagon is definitely something you want to be playing in a round you're intending to pressure or win.
I think Hanachan would want to play Dagon as soon as he has a chance to play it and get ahead. And at that point, it would be correct to play, because obviously you're committing Dagon, but you're also getting ahead. So it's a win-win situation for Hanachan here. But if he plays and doesn't get ahead, then Tailbot can say, I'm going to pass, get rid of 2 Arcspores and 2 Fog Effects. Pretty good deal for me, I think.
Yeah, that's certainly the case. Priestess of Freya comes out.
And Ceres could be a very misbehaved gold here if she jumps into that melee row.
She does not. She goes in the range. That's only Roach. Roach is the one that I swear is hard-coded to jump in the weather if it's on your side of the board. But Ceres behaves for now, jumping in the ranged row.
She's scared of the wrath of the Tail God, so just playing it safe, jumping into that range row, making sure nothing bad happens for Tailbot here. And Hanachan obviously, very sad about that.
Ooh, interesting Dow here from Hanachan.
See a big point gap.
I mean, it is enough with the Griffin because of the fog damage, and Tailbot would recognize this, so it's actually quite a core timing from Hanachan to get that Dow out now.
And double Arcspore as well. I mean, the longer this goes without Hanachan being able to pass Tailbot, the happier I think Tailbot is. The shorter the round 3, the better for Tailbot. He has better finishers overall and doesn't have to deal with things like Arcspores and Fog, for example. So
yeah, I really love that coral from Tailbot there, though. Artifact compressing the Dow into the measly Jade figurine means that, of course, he cannot play that Griffin for the huge tempo play, and that turns playing Dow into just having taken an incredibly low tempo turn. And
he messes with, the Slizzards, the Brewis Ritual. I mean, a lot of things are affected by it as well. So I think it's overall we've seen a lot this tournament, the Dows being either Mandrake or Coral, and I think it makes a lot of sense, to be honest.
Well, yeah, it's perfect. It's a 1-2 punch combo, right? So you can just disrupt it immediately.
And there's a Camille. 1 Fog being emptied in that front row, and the Siege row coming in to substitute that, but still 2 points every single turn from Fog, and 2 more from the Arcspores.
Do you think this is Tailbot's moment to pass?
I think there's still enough of a gap where you can, especially with no down on the board to, give Hanachan really big tempo swings. He still has a chance to keep playing here, especially if he can access Udalric with that Heim, for example.
Yeah, that's most likely what he's shooting for, should he go for it.
He has to be very careful, though. Of course, Hanachan has a Frightener to answer back and also, fill up that front row with the Fog as well. So it's going to be a good trade for Hanachan's.
So there we go, the Ulgrit comes down.
Yeah, I'm a fan of discarding the Protector, just making sure that you don't have that many risky plays, or Tailbot might want to play a risky game here. He does enable more Bone Talismans with the Marauders, but you could also get a Brick Protector. We've seen it, a few times already for Tailbot's list, so trying to avoid that if possible.
I think that's the smart thing to do. It's also reading just what's been happening in the tournament, right? He wants to avoid the likelihood of getting a bricked anything round 3 as much as possible.
There's a Frightener. This may be the moment for Tailbot to pass. It's starting to get really, really tricky. 6 points every single turn. Looking back at Dutch Boy's game against Hanachan, something very similar happened.
Spirals.
He had a chance to pass. At some point he didn't and ended up costing him. Could be the same here for Tailbot. We've seen him win, being a card down before in that very first series against Azakov in this tournament. With just great finishes with Triss and Sigdrifa and just massive plays, but
Elgard doing his maths.
this is where it gets really, really hard here.
It does.
You have to
I
really
think Hanachan set up the board really nicely. Like you say, 6 points of tempo a turn, that Frightener pulling something back into the fog. Hanachan has definitely got this to the stage where Tailbot can't particularly afford to pressure more.
But of course your Marauders are worth more and more in a round like this where you've played so many bears already and curse units in general, so double-edged sword here for Tailbot. That sounds like the play is being made. Still a big gap, still a fairly big gap, but every turn it's going to be closing more and more and more with the fogs and the arc spores ticking. And I think this is definitely a sign of, let's get out of here right now. Again, back to 5 points with that Dow enable, so many more plays and so many more tempo swings for Hanachan.
Oh, what looks like he's considering, but he's going for the pass.
He's cutting it very close otherwise. I think that's very, very correct pass here.
So good pass game by Tailbot. Hanachan, of course, setting up the round pressure extremely well. Looks like he's actually
Naivety is a fool's
playing Gels to line up his round 3 draw. Barbragazi coming out of Monster's Nest.
Getting some carryover once again, so already a little bit of a buff there for Hanachan. Of course, Olgerd, Morkvark, and Ceres will be coming out very shortly for Tailbot, so both players with some carryover as well. Both players with fairly decent hands. Restore and Triss for Tailbot, the 2 big players. And Hanachan, of course, counting with great cards like Osril, for example.
Yeah, both players looking to have pretty strong hands with a lot of the tools they'd want at their disposal. It's going to come down to the sequencing.
Tailbot able to cut down quite a few cards here from that round 2 bleed, making this round 3 just a tiny bit shorter, making these arc spores not as effective, and also making Hanachan commit. Cards like Dagon and Woodland Spirit, for example.
Yeah, very nice mulligan there by Tailbot, dropping the Berserker Marauder, which can be accessed through Reconnaissance, or the Skjal that he just got in hand.
No more Coral for that Dow. Protector is enabled this turn. There is still a Bone Talisman in the deck, so Tailbot not too worried about that. He's had, flashbacks from that last game against Kolomon, but in this case, it's looking pretty good.
The question is to Tailbot, how do you start the point train going?
A lot of sequencing here with the Marauders. Obviously, the more curse units there are, the better.
And for Hanachan, it's all about getting those Arcaspores out, establishing his long round value, and also using that Osrel to counter key units. Or just need a Spy for plenty of tempo.
Play Restore. Coming out really, really early for the Bearmaster here. We're going to get that point gap right away.
Sure, you can pet him, long as you don't mind losing an
No
arm.
rocking to play around, but still, sometimes smart to stack in different rows. Not too many, row punishing effects from Hanachan's deck, but still, this is something that's ingrained in every player's mentality. So watch out for stacking a row way too much.
Absolutely. I think also 2 points a turn on the board for Hanachan in those double Arcaspores, setting up some nice bit of value. And the Dow on board enabling that Griffin to find its full 17-point potential.
Well, of course, those Arc Spores could also help out the Marauders get a bit more value by damaging units that aren't already cursed. If there was a bit of a nerf to Marauders. They don't double up on cursed units now if they're also damaged, so not too big of a problem with the Arc Spores, but still, a few points here and there that might help Tailbot edge ahead in this shorter round 3.
Certainly might be, but unfortunately that trade-off doesn't mean that Hanachan can avoid playing them. It's simply a consequence he's got to deal with.
And there's a Protector, 1 extra point added to the Marauders already. The Olgerd already cursed, so it won't matter too much. And the Griffin there, great play, great tempo already with the Dow set up thanks to that Brewis.
However, depending with the sequencing on these Marauders, Olgerd could fall before, and also the Protector is only on 1 HP too, so they may get removed from the board before the Marauders gain the opportunity to get extra points from them.
We serve her who is
Great res here,
virgin
obviously
mother
getting
and
more bodies on
queen.
the board, protecting those units, and also making Ceres another viable target for some damage from the Arc Spores.
See, there
there's the
goes all
Ogre.
good.
So 1 point gained, 1 point lost. The Arc Spores, till now neutral, behaving for Hannah-chan for the most part, and not giving Tailbot too much of an edge here. Very
Alright,
common.
Ozrael coming to eat Frightener.
All drones are fighting, and we've seen it so many times already this tournament. Really a staple for these Dagon Deathwish decks. Not in Tailbot's list, but it's been in pretty much every other one. It's been doing quite well as a great, tempo swing in this round 3.
It's a great 18-point drop, almost rivaling the might of Goliath. But sadly, Goliath is yet to find his way into the meta.
One day,
One day.
you have to wish, you have to hope.
I can't wait. Hey, look, we've seen like 8 Bloody Baron decks
How
brought
can
this
I
tournament, right? Tell that to someone a year ago and they'd laugh at you. So.
There's the Triss, great tempo swing onto the bear here. Setting up a lot of curse units for these Marauders, and also one more unit these Arc Force could hit. No.
Triss?
No. 2 curse units, so no effect there. Added on to Tailbot's Marauders. And these swings can really matter. I mean, these extra points, 2 or 3 points that might be game deciding in a very short, very close match. See here, equal cards and very close point totals.
There's a Cyclops burning up that Dow, dealing its damage and spawning the lesser Dow.
Hannah-chan eliminating one more target for the Arc Spores. Skull coming down for that first Marauder to come out.
I fear nothing.
Pretty mighty 15, not a bad silver, 20 points.
Not bad at all. The Archospores managing to skillfully avoid adding extra points to the Marauders to come.
They'd have to hit the Ceres or the Bearmaster here to really get some value for Tailbot, but a lot of curse units on the board, so not too big of a chance for that to happen. Oh, and here's
Whisper's coming
Whisper's
out.
tribute into the Mandrake. I see onto the Marauder. Big swing.
Big swing indeed, but what's that Cyclops representing? 4 points from the Archospore. It cuts off a point from the Archospore too, though, so Tailbot's looking in a reasonable position right now.
Beg for
And
death.
tie score again. The Arcspore hitting a Bearmaster. That's 1 extra
Hitting
point
a
for
Bearmaster.
Tailbot. I think it's still
It's gonna
might
kill
be-
it though,
Yeah,
so it doesn't
gonna
count.
kill it. Very smart play there from Hannah-chan. Kills the Skjall as
Oh,
well.
the Skjall goes too. Wow.
So even 1 more point denied there.
Yeah, and there we go.
You beg for
And the-
Such a
We still have the
close
Arcspore
game.
taking, but those 2 points on both that Bearmaster and that Skjall.
Yeah.
And the Ceres not being hit. I mean, in
It
the
actually,
end,
oh my goodness, it changed the course of the game.
very small things. Like I said, these players obviously great players, bringing great decks, and in the end, we're gonna have very close final scores. And the Arcspore behaving for Hannah-chan, really helping him out. They could have really done a lot of
did.
damage,
My
but
goodness.
in the end, Hannah-chan getting that win and tying up the series 1-1.
See, that's how you become a true Gwent master. You learn to control the pings of your Archospore to work in your favor.
He's been whispering to those Arcspores for many nights.
He has.
The same way Tailbot whispered to Ceres' ear to not jump into that melee row.
But he did.
And right away we see Hensel coming out. Has to be Tailbot's list because Hannah-chan's Hensel, or no, it has to be Hannah-chan's list because Tailbot Hensel is banned. Obviously Hannah-chan taking that ban from his greatsword, so he has his Hensel enabled. And right away we see a lot of winches. Could potentially break a John Natalis. Has to be very careful here.
Yeah, he certainly does.
It
So
could also create 3 battering rams.
Tailbot also getting cards like Swallow out. Not ideal. However, he does swap it for a Vesemir.
And Tailbot with his Nilfgaard Alchemy list on blue coin could be problematic. I mean, you can't really dry pass. You have to make sure you have the res targets for the ointments, for example. It's a tricky dry pass, and Hensel on red coin is always very menacing.
Yeah, it is a tricky dry pass indeed. It's, yeah, there's even slave driving, which typically would be one of your first go-to plays in this instance. He's going to be hitting machines that require targets to find good value, so not the strongest opening plays possible to Tailbot.
And we'll see in Hannah-chan's side, Natalis into Romvid, a great opener, making sure Natalis is not dead. And getting that Romvid out right away. You could also ADC into it, but you want to make sure that Natalis can be played early and get a great tempo swing, and also not have to brick Natalis later on. We saw it with Colomon in the last, and right away,
Wow,
I think that would be really risky. If
that
we
would
see,
be slightly ballsy, yeah.
there's a lot that can go wrong there. A novice into an ointment, for example.
The Tailbot nodding to himself. He likes the big old Calvite.
He likes
Pretty
the big
happy
old
with
swallow potion more than anything, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's his favorite card. All you have to get really happy when you play it. A surge of excitement.
What a meme star, honestly.
Hannah-chan
Swallow potion.
thinking what to do here. I think the Thaler, oh, he's going for the Thaler right away.
Who takes an interest in
Drawing out a Siege Master.
And I love this play. I mean, Natalis into Ronvid is a 17-point play, plus the Dunbanners is exactly 29 points. And it sets up, it cleans up the Natalis not being bricked, it gets out your Ronvid, so this is a great, piece of math here from Hannah-chan.
This is terrifying by Hannah-chan.
No Cantarella for Tailbot either,
Tailbot knows as well. That's, in case you're wondering why he didn't just immediately pass, that is what he's staring down.
Tailbot, I mean, Hannah-chan going to look to win on even and keep Hensel as well, which is a massive thing. Unless Tailbot decides to go 2 cards down, which is, he's done it before with Skalgan. It worked out against Adzikov, but normally it's a game-losing decision.
Yeah, it certainly is. And against a Henselt on red, I mean, there's no easy choice here for Tailbot. It looks like he's tempted to go for it, but he's just looking frustrated more than anything. He's going for the slave driver, he's doing it. I actually, controversially, potentially, I think that's actually the right decision. Because I think that otherwise, if you lose on equal, it's just as gone, right?
Yeah, against Hensel, I mean, it's hard. That's one of the toughest decisions in Gwent right now. Hensel showing why he's so powerful on red coin, especially with Valor and no, the spy check failed there from Tailbot, no Cantarella in his hand. And there we see it, the John Natalis into reinforcement, into Ronvid, spinning up, great thinning and making sure that these cards aren't dead later on, and establishing that kind of carryover play from Ronvid, and also enabling the crewman synergy with all these machines that Hensel has.
I mean, Tailbot now has to deal with the ultimate feels bad of just constantly playing to go -2.
And losing on even is quite bad, but if you manage to somehow lose with your opponent having an extra card, you're obliterated. I mean, there's nothing to do there.
You are annihilated.
You have to just go for a Colamon quick forfeit, I think, at that point. A signature play from Colamon, a guy that
the
knows.
Colamon peace out, yeah.
When he's lost, he knows he's not going to waste anyone's time. He goes for the straight forfeit, and Tailbot could be in trouble. He could still pass here. Still lose on even if he so desires, but once a machine is played, if Hensel is enabled, could be in a lot of trouble.
We follow Letho's lead.
Only 9 cards there for the Alchemy synergy with these Viper Witchers. So some decks have 10 or 11, but Tailbot deciding for a more compact package with only 9 value.
Precisely, a compact package indeed. Nicely put. But yeah, he is opting to play a little bit more efficiently actually, and choose to drop a damage on his alchemy. So, I mean, if you're Tailbot, how do you get back into this?
You hope for some kind of bricked miracle. Dunbanners just flying into Hannah-chan's hand, and some kind of massive treason from the Dunbanners, and also Hensel being bricked and being a 3-point leader. Well, Dunbanner's already out, so that's not going to happen. These are well-behaved Dunbanners as well, unless Neneki decides to shuffle them back into his deck, and then that something goes wrong in round 3 in a top-deck situation. But in general, I mean, it's looking really good for Hannah-chan here. He has a lot of control, and a battering ram from the first winch, the first objective, a success. You want to get as many battering rams as possible with the Neneki.
Another Viper Witch is coming down. Tailbot appearing to have some trouble placing his card.
We follow.
There we go. Alright, so he kills the battering ram, denying the Henselt target.
Now I'm going to see another winch and another, again, battering ram. Nope. Failed the second one.
Alright.
Good attempt, but not quite. But Reinforced Ballista is still a secondary option that could work out, especially in these matchups where you don't really know if you're going to find a good target with the Viper Witchers killing your machine. So there's always an option here to have a secondary, mission with these Reinforced Ballistas instead. And the Mandrake can also delete a battering ram altogether.
It can indeed, yeah, which stops it, of course, being shuffled back in with Neneke if you're going for the later Henselt. Both players intensely concentrating, because even though it may seem like Hannah-chan's in a superb position, remember the stakes these guys are playing for are extremely high, so every move will be calculated.
Here's our chance.
There's Machine Assassination number 2. Reinforced Ballista goes to the graveyard.
Yeah, although there are 2 more in the hand of Hannah-chan.
And of course, I mean, Hensel is great when it can be played. As a 3-point leader, not too good. Win rate is going to suffer a bit there.
Just a little bit, yeah.
If Tailbot can manage to snipe off these machines one after another, every time they're played, he's going to be, in a great position to win this round one. Third winch comes down. Battering ram is in. This could get Mandrake though. Would be, I think, a great play from Tailbot.
I think it would be the, it would be the, with how defensively he's playing, it most likely will be the play from Tailbot, I imagine.
And we see a point lost by not killing the Viper Witcher there. It really says that Hanatan is starting to get scared of these ointments into Viper Witchers and plays around that just a tiny bit, losing out a point in the process, but enabling, a bit of a safer route for these machines to maybe survive.
Yeah, really scared of the ointment there. He doesn't want to see everything go into the graveyard. It's not ideal, but there is the Mandrake Banish open on that battering ram.
It could always be a Vilgefort into that 3-point Viper Witcher and then a res like that. So there's a few sequencing that Tailbot can do to be able to snipe a few more machines off, but I think a lot about his decisions here.
This is to take the lead in the series. Both players sitting at 1-1 right now in this best of 5. Crown a winner.
He finally passes here.
Interesting. Choosing 14 points as his pass opportunity. Seltkirk, however,
Stand and fight, cowards!
More than enough here. 18
more
points.
than enough.
Easily done, and Hanatan stays 4 points ahead and wins this round on even cards. No carryover from Tailbot. No Nilfgaard War Dancer just yet. We'll be looking for that maybe in the next batch of cards coming out. For
Don't
right
even
now,
meme.
right
Don't
now
even joke.
there's no chance here for Tailbot to get that card back. And a dry pass from Hanatan could be risky because you are maybe breaking your Henselt if Viper Witchers are able to really kill off all your machines, but it could also get you an extra card for round 3, which is pretty massive in most matchups.
Certainly is. So, Hanachan having to start the round out.
Yeah.
Opts for the dry pass, knowing Ronvid comes out.
Rambit at one point not too menacing for Tailbot
Not too
here.
menacing, no.
Bit of an ant in his way.
And he will crush him. Who's Ronvid? Just some card. Tailbot wondering what his options are here.
We're going to set up the best possible value. Really taking his time. Looking at all the cards here, of course. This is a very important match. 1-1, tied up.
Of course, as you wish, master.
Cleans out his deck a bit on that novice.
Inside a novice, drinks a pint, enough to beat up Ronvid easily. And that'll give him the pass. However, he is one card down against the Henselt in round 3. And that's a Henselt that's holding a Scorch as well.
I have a few cards here like Black Blood, Joachim, and Vilgefort that could really decide what they pull and what they create can decide a lot of things here in this matchup. So, and that Scorch might be really good here with the Ales. Ooh, Kahira, great pull for Tailbot. Really good news there.
Yeah, he's going to be very happy to see that coming out. But yeah, something like a Black Blood into an Osrul could represent a lot of points. There has been Spies played, so yeah, the Black Blood variants will come into play a little bit here.
Both players making a mental check of what has been played, what is left in each player's deck, looking at the graveyards, and preparing for this final battle in this matchup. Henselt versus Kalvit, Alchemy Nilfgaard. Look at the Henselt pulls there. We see 2 battering rams in hand, which is not ideal. I mean, the reinforced ballista looks like the target here. Also 2 siege masters, so not great value there either.
I imagine in combination with the Nenike, the reinforced ballista will end up being the target here, yep. And those battering rams can find good value, especially in crewman pockets, so
I shall do as you command.
Ronvid, a great card to put back with a Sire.
Yeah, denying a crewman on the board, really great play.
And the ointment, I like that it really says, what Tailbot's strategy here is, just rezzing those Viper Witchers and making sure it was to ping off as many machines as possible. But there's always the bluff element. Once an Neki comes down and shuffles back a certain machine, Tailbot knows what to aim for. But until that happens, Tailbot just doesn't know if he's looking for battering rams or reinforced ballistas. Because both were created with Winch, and he hasn't seen too many of them yet, so it could be either one.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to the removal decisions here from Tailbot, and if you can overcome Hanachan's pretty mighty point values here with Henselt.
Tailbot might cohere into Kalvit here and try and find a way to pull out ointment and kill his machine right away, thinking that it may be the target, but there's not really much to kill either. I mean, the Sire We'll take quite a bit of damage. We'll end up probably dying, but with no crewman, not as much damage. I mean, missing that Rombit is just absolutely huge. Just Sire just getting a lot of value for Tailbot.
Black Blood comes out. Going to create. He sees an Osril. Osril's good.
Osril into machine maybe even instead of the spy.
Yeah, I think it will be, especially if he knows the deck list. He knows there's a Scorch there. That's a big risk.
And if that Osril gets speared up, gets a bit of an extra buff there, it could be even worse. Could have gone for the machine, could have maybe messed with Neneki, but he does know the deck list, so he does know Neneki is being run by Hannah-chan. But decides to go for the big point play instead.
I'm an officer and a gentleman.
And there's the Siege Master, creating a bit of a crewman synergy finally with Romvid missing.
Yeah, interesting to see that Osril played so aggressively against the list running Scorch.
And Neneki could always shuffle back these dumb banners instead of machines. It's an option. Although, without Hensel being played, obviously still available for round 3, you want to be very careful and try and get maximum value out of that Hensel. But it also gives your opponent some key information about what to be killing with these ointments and the Mandrakes.
Looks
Mandrake
like
into
he's considering
Siege
Mandrake
Master.
here. Into the Siege Master.
With Hannah-chan having a second one in hand, I think it's not that big of a deal. But could still be a good line of play here. I mean, you could potentially get rid of a lot of value for Hannah-chan, but with the second one in hand, being able to enable so many of these machines, at least that one crewman tag, even if it's not the double pocket.
I think focusing on the crewman removal can be key. We've already seen Ronvid go down, but I feel like with an extra one in hand, that's not going to have the impact that Tailbot's hoping it will.
Exactly. A lot of thought from both players being put into this game. Very, very important game here. Whoever wins this is going to be one game away from winning this event and getting, a whole ton of prestige and
yeah, never mind the $4,000 bonus as well.
I mean, that's just secondary. They're both going to Challenger. Challenger is really where the real meat is
Where
at.
the big boy bucks are at.
Exactly. So this is all about the prestige, I think, for both players. Never having won an event, the first time to be able to do so. A big chance for both players.
I pass on every 10th round.
Ah, pinging the Algol. Or the Osril even. Interesting decision.
You're losing points either way on Battering Ram or on Scorch, so...
Yeah. Certainly signaling that you have the battering rams there, though.
No goals from Hannah-chan either. No Bloody Baron to finish this round out, so... It's tough, missing a few key cards here, and on the other hand, Tailbot.
Tailbot getting down to a very powerful core.
Tailbot has them all.
Kahir, Vesemir, and Vilgefortz.
Vilgefortz may come down now that he has a chance to play it for fairly decent value, pinging this 3-pointed Sire. Obviously, you don't really, against machines especially, they ping off all your small units. It's always risky keeping it for later because you might not find a good target to burn.
Yeah, Papa Vesemir comes down, going for the ointment into the Viper Witcher, which will
May kill Siege Master actually.
probably be killing the Siege Master, actually. Yeah, I was just going to say that.
That just took away so many points from Hannah-chan's lineup with so many machines and Hensel still to be played.
Certainly did. So, Battering Ram comes down, killing a Sire, pinging Vesemir, which actually very nicely sets up that other Battering Ram in Hannah-chan's hands. So, good point management there, keeping his Battering Rams on maximum potential.
Still so many great cards to be played from Tailbot and such a huge edge already. Hannah-chan is looking for a massive Hensel to be dropped to really, try and win this game, I think. He is still in it. I mean, it's a fairly small point gap, and Hannah-chan did have the extra card going into this round, so a bit of an advantage there, but that Oswald already at 20 points.
Oh man, that Scorch is looking bigger and bigger. But even then, even if it hits, Tailbot's still ahead. There is a 23-point gap. But Henselt is yet to hit the board.
And no Ram targets either. And Vilgefortz looking not so fantastic anymore. I mean, Joachim obviously boosting whatever it pulls. Like Kahir probably going to die. Like very quick death from one of these battering rams.
Yeah, he's going to hope the Kahir stays up, and otherwise it'll be the Calvite gets burnt, I guess.
I think Hannah-chan knows this as well. He knows that Vilgefortz might be coming down. He'll try and burn it right away.
Men of Kedwen,
Hannah-chan not risking it. I mean, getting the Neki.
Very interesting.
Not playing the Neki first and just taking out these 2 reinforced ballistas, making sure he gets some value here from the
That's
Hensel.
gonna give a potential Vilgefortz target.
And the Neki is looking to definitely pull out the dumb banners now and put them back into the deck and hope for Tillbot's Vilga Force or Kahir plays to be big enough to just take him out in
Yeah,
one.
with an unstrengthened Calvite, that's a risky decision there from Hannah-chan.
There's still 3 big point swings from Tillbot. And the Neki at 10 points is going to be obviously offset, and it's going to help in making sure Tillbot stays ahead after this next turn. So
Yeah, I mean, that Scorch is still looming there, but...
An interesting choice.
there's
man.
the 24-point Oswald. Tillbot not happy with that. Hoping to have gotten something different from his deck, but it has been thinned down quite a bit. And there's the Neki. And Hannah-chan setting up for a big play in future turns. Really, it looks like a 10-point silver, but it's really a 22-point silver after these dumb banners do come out. And I think Tillbot really can't. I mean, it's just, very few points to be played here. 15 points, and they're going to come out.
I must. Onward, sons of Nilfgaard!
I believe he does have the Cantarella left still.
He
on
does,
the main
yeah.
farm.
He does actually have the Cantarella available, and it looks like he's considering it.
He might have just noticed this. Not going to block the Scorch, but will block the dumb banners at the very least. It's not great to play this, a spine round 3, but considering you're blocking the dumb banner, I think it evens out quite well, and it also helps you get some, last save potential against Henselt, for example.
Yeah, and I mean, when it's offset by Rainfarn anyway, the Dun Banner blocking is really quite nice.
And since he has a chance to get that Battering Ram synergy, at least that 1 extra point off, and he goes for it right away.
Alright, what do we see come out here first from Tillbot? I mean, he's got so many points to make up. That Scorch is so big.
An ADC will be playing on a machine, I imagine, from Hannah-chan's list. We have seen all his silver units play already. I don't imagine it will be a done banner. I think there has to be at least, 8 cards left. There has to be at least some form of machine left. Probably a battering ram, I believe.
I believe there's a battering ram left because the others were winched, right?
So he has a chance to still get that battering ram, and not a dumb banner. Obviously, from ADC would have been quite a bad play. Backing that front row to try and save that Aldra from any more buffs. Tillbot
Now, how
going
did
for the
that
ointment.
rotation go?
Second novice again, keeps on stacking that melee row.
Now, how did that
There we go,
rotation
the other ointment comes out. Gonna get the Viper Witcher.
We
Probably
follow
play for
them.
max value on Cantarella or Nenike. Goes on Cantarella for 9 points. Nice little chain by Tillbot. ADC comes out. Which is the battering ram, there we go.
And still some great, targets for battering ram still.
Huge
So
Joaquin.
Scourge versus Rakim, who wins this final battle here? This game 3 of the series. I think it's Scorch. I mean,
It's
might
Scorch.
just do it.
Unless this is enormous, I believe it's Scorch. Battering ram comes out. There's a 3-strength target in Henselt.
Scorch is 24 points here.
Yeah, it's huge. And that's a 17-point gap, so Scorch is going to be enough for Hannah-chan to take a 2-1 lead. With that incredibly calculated round 1 really just dominating the game from there on out. Hannah-chan wonderfully played in that round 1.
Yeah, very slow game. Both players really showing that it's a final of a great tournament, and they're really trying to not make any mistakes, take their time, think through every single possibility. Tillbot with the assassination of machines, and Hannah-chan going for that early Henselt, just guaranteeing gets value, not taking the big risk. I think it was a good play from Hannah-chan there. Of course, Neneki showing up huge, and that Scorch. I mean, maybe the Osral play was a mistake after all from Tillbot. I mean, we'll never know, but in the end, that Scorch was massive for Hannah-chan.
It certainly was, and Hannah-chan has his Alchemy Nilfgaard left to win with, and he's going to be facing off against Tillbot's King Bran.
Or me.
And Tillbot back on red coin, so Hannah-chan coming from the disadvantage in this game 4 of this finals.
Yeah, so in this matchup, you got Alchemy Nilfgaard versus Bran's Big Bear Boys. Who do you give the edge to?
Alchemy is really a tier 1 deck, I think. I think Tillbot's list is hard to really place because it is, fairly recent. It plays out in a very weird way where you don't really have any long-term value, or it's more of a, consistent points across every single play. Marauders, of course, being the finisher and the plays that can really create some long-term value. You also have great finishers in Triss and Skjol and Bone Talismans, but it's hard to say really where Alchemy has, a really high ceiling in tempo, of course, with with Kalvit and Kahir and certain plays like that. And of course, Dandelion Poet.
Yeah,
we haven't seen too much.
Even those slave drivers find huge value against this deck because those Bear Masters are wonderful steals. They make it a 13-point card. So, yeah, I think Alchemy's got a very nice matchup here for it.
Chan loves dry passing on blue coin, but with Alchemy, it's a different story. I think it's quite hard to dry pass on blue coin and not be punished. But of course, Skellige always also renowned for having to play into round 2 and get reses as well. So
I will not let this become a
very strong play from Hanatan right off the bat to mark his ground. Oh, that's not what we want to see.
Not what he wants to see whatsoever. Dead Viper Witcher hitting the board.
Oh, and you have to attack your own board.
Roach.
Oh, that's
Feels
terrible.
bad, man. Hannah-chan.
There are cards that have like just you ping an enemy and you can't hit your own units, but unfortunately for him, Viper Witcher does not know what loyalty is, and instead attacks that roach and makes his Triss an 11-point opener, which is not what you want to see. You really played around your own roach and just made your play so much worse by that. A bit of bad RNG there for Hannah-chan.
Yeah, Hannah-chan not going to be happy with that whatsoever. Able to be surpassed by a single Bearmaster. Disastrous opener for Hannah-chan.
Basically losing a gold and a silver there.
Yeah.
Obedience or clash.
Slave Driver taking a Berserker Marauder.
It's not ideal. Only 10 points. Could have been a Bearmaster for 2 extra points, but still could be worse for a bronze card.
Yeah, still makes a 10-point play on the Slave Driver. I think these days, as long as you hit double digits, you're relatively happy with your play, or at least you can't say it went too badly. Bran comes out for the traditional discard. Olgierd, Morkvarg, and Surus setting up that future round carryover.
Not quite passing Hannah-chan here, giving him a chance to pass if he wants to, but Tailbot setting up his carryover and his Surus, which is going to get him a ton of points over the next 3 rounds.
Yeah, and Tailbot looking at his hand, he's got a lot of reses in there, honestly. He doesn't have too much to spend earlier on.
Another gold committed here with Dandelion Poet and Mandrake right away. On that Morkvarg, which is a great play. It not only eliminates carryover, it also really deals with the Surus ticks every single round. So in the end, it seems like a 5-point play, but it does so much more over the course of this game.
Definitely does. Disabling that carryover is a serious thing, especially when Surus is in that graveyard. Tailbot going to be very frustrated with that. And you're going to have to work extra hard. Thankfully for him, he does have reses in hand, which will help get that Surus out in lieu of Morkvarg's existence.
We also see so many bronze cards there, so many spells in Hannah-chan's hand, which will really mess with the novices being viable cards to be played in round 2 and 3. So not the greatest hand from Hannah-chan. 1 gold whiffed, the second already played, and not really that far ahead. Here Tailbot showing how you actually play Triss Telekinesis. Going for maybe an ale here, yeah, it looks like the best option.
I think it's the ale for the points. Yeah, Hannah-chan's hand is not looking great. Double beer, swallow potion, and a Vicavarian Novice, which typically, of course, you want to use to tutor those things, isn't looking too efficient.
And Hannah-chan Tailbot winning on even and with a carryover safety net as well. Just in case Hannah-chan is able to end up winning this round, a card down. So Tailbot, I think, feeling quite good with this deck in this position right now.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be happy with the state of the game as it currently is. I mean, his hand isn't like the killer hand either, but compared to Hannah-chan's, he's in a much stronger position. Kalvate comes out. Viper Witchers do have things to hit now, so we may see a Viper Witcher or just a Novice to try and get some efficiency out. But it's the Viper Witcher, of course, to enable ointments, and Triss takes the full damage, goes to the graveyard.
A big gap here already, 14 points. Later into a round, it's not so much, but at the start of a round, where you still have to set up quite a few things. Marauder's not too big yet. It really, is a pretty big gap. Maybe he has to commit Skjall here.
Yeah, Skjall would surpass.
Or even him here, but I mean, it's a big committal so early on.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if he chooses to go for this.
Like you said, missing, a lot of key things in this round 1. No Spear Maidens, not too many Bear Masters. He really doesn't have much to play with. He can't really go for a long run one either. I mean, he has a few plays left, but Bone Talisman's dead. The Protector, not looking too great. Restore, obviously, in the Freya. No real res targets.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 2 cards remaining, both of which are extraordinarily high-value cards. Skjall and Heim, neither of those you really want to see go this early on, but he is choosing to give Hannah-chan the option to pass for +1 if he wants it. But Hannah-chan's hand as well. While it may not be the most efficient Nilfgaard Alchemy hand, he does have things like Ales, which are just easy points, which compared to Tailbot's dead cards, That's so great.
And no coral from Tailbot to punish those ales either.
Yeah. There they come. Hannah-chan getting the beers in.
I think Tailbot, I mean, if he plays Heim, he doesn't have a guarantee for Ulrich next turn, which he might want because Hannah-chan's only option to get card back against carryover against the Ceres and the Olgierd coming out is really to play a Spy if he finds that Cantarella. So Tailbot, if he wants to play it safe, he has to probably give up this round to Hannah-chan, let him dictate the terms, and end up just passing maybe now or maybe after playing a skill. But
I mean, I can't see the palatable way for Tailbot to play into this round.
there really isn't. Even if he plays skill and Hannah-chan passes, then he's forced to play the Heim as well and miss out on the Ulrich. So there's no really chance for skill to be played either.
But he is, of course, going to take his time with this decision. Hovering Heime Protector.
Good strengthen. It's an option. Goes for carryover. Hannah-chan can't really punish it unless he has a Cantarella.
Yeah, he's thinking the Protector into the Scowl to then take the round, assuming the pass happens.
Strengthen just goes for
Strengthen
carryover
that
here.
Bearmaster, yeah.
Play you can make, and Hannah-chan doesn't have a way to punish this either. Cantarella wouldn't be able to do it unless you have Rainfarn, and Hannah-chan is not running Rainfarn, so very interesting play from Tailbot. Very smart play as well. Make sure to unbreak that Protector for later with that Bone Talisman. And guaranteeing a tiny bit more carryover that could be game deciding in a short round 3, having those 3 extra points on that Bearmaster. Obviously, you don't want to restore that same Bearmaster, or else you're losing out on that strength.
Yeah, of course. I think Tailbot is running out of ways to really strongly continue this round, but the pass does come in, which means he can drop to take it.
I think that was the correct pass from Hannah-chan. He gives up this round, but
so.
he doesn't mess with the carryover and the being a card down round 2, which is really hard to come back from in some matchups. So I think very smart pass from Hannah-chan. He has a decent, I mean, he has a really bad hand actually. So going into round 3, you have to really do some great mulligans and great top decks to have a good hand for round 3, just to have some quality there. But Tailbot as well.
Opting for the Heim over the Scowl.
Ulrich won't be as essential for him next turn because he'll be winning this round, so
course.
it makes some sense, but and skill, of course, is going to be 2 points higher than
Sure, I mean, if
Ulrich.
being used to just play Marauder, Scowl does represent the higher value.
Very subtle things, but Tailbot obviously thinking about every possible situation because he is a game down in this finals, game 4. A lot of pressure here for him to perform and make sure he can try and stay in this for at least one more game, go to that game 5.
Hannah-chan getting a Viper Witcher in his hand. Only 1 silver in hand for Hannah-chan. Things looking awfully bronze over there.
And those novices might just be dead. We've seen some ales played already. We see 2 ointments and a swallow potion in hand, so. Tricky mulligans left for Hannah-chan here.
I mean, one of the ales, yeah, I think those novices would both have an ale remaining to play, right?
We'll have to look at Hannah-chan's graveyard to find out for sure, but it could be that way. He is also missing Vilgefortz, of course, a staple finisher for this alchemy deck.
So the Strength and Bearmaster comes back out. 16-point play on the Freya. Ceres gets a tick on the timer.
And Tailbot needs to get this Ceres value, make sure he gets it out in this round and also the next, so he has to play into this round. Try and bleed his opponent out of a few cards here.
Slave Driver, however, getting a bear of his own. A bear's working for the Emperor now.
Solid 13-point bronze there.
Alright, Protector shooting out a Bone Talisman.
An easy way to unbrick this here. Probably going to play the skill as well this turn to unbrick it for next turn, just to enable a mulligan on that Bone Talisman for a restore possibly on the Protector. So.
And Ceres, 28-point gap. Nice efficient play by Tailbot.
And looking at Hannah-chan's hand, I mean, maybe like even the 2-0 could be a possibility. I mean, obviously Ulrich doesn't help too much with that, but just such a big disparity between quality in both of these players' hands.
Yeah, I mean, but you know how it is to play against Alchemy Nilfgaard. Tailbot's going to think, he's holding Cahir, Vesemir, Vilgefortz. He's not. But Tailbot does not know that, so of course he is going to be playing around those powerful point jumps that Alchemy can do.
He does know that Triss, Telekinesis, and Dandelion Point were both played already in round 1, so some gold's missing already for sure. There's the first novice, bringing out the Magham Ale, getting a few points on the board. Solid 14-point bronze. Fairly good average, but there's Ulrich. And Tailbot has the gap to do it without falling behind, which is huge if he can stay ahead here. I think the Bearmaster is a safe play here, making sure having maybe a dead recon with no bronze units later on, or just an unfortunate pull into something that you can't really get value out of. So getting rid of that thinning tool in recon, but finding a solid 12-point bronze of the bear.
Talbot nods to himself, recognizing that Swallow Potion isn't the most powerful player in the world, so Hannah-chan's hand may be lagging a little bit.
On equal cards, 9 points separate these two players. If Talbot is able to just with his card quality jump ahead and maybe even go for a 2-0, be quite interesting. Of course, Black Blood would really have a big say in Hannah-chan's what his plays are going to come up to in terms of points, but
yeah, if Talbot does smell blood, he could push for the 2-0. Not a player particularly known for playing that aggressively, but he may sense the opportunity to do it. He is certainly a player who assesses every possible situation, so I'm sure it's lingering in the back of his mind.
he wants to at least count for Ceres to maybe have a res possibility in the next turn. Get the value from Ceres as well, so.
And the Scowl committal's a lot of points. Yeah, so there's the other rail.
Of course.
Or the
as you
novice.
wish, master.
No Coral from Talbot either, so that's a card he is definitely missing in his hand.
Yeah,
The one gold he
certainly
has
is.
not played yet.
Low roll draws by both players here. Bronze cores fighting against bronze cores.
And it might just be a game of top decks. Obviously, Talbot is thinned down to quite a few cards and thinning down even more with that Skjall, for example. Could get him a Coral, which could be pretty massive depending on what maybe a Black Blood into Osril. And then a Coral counter from Talbot could be game deciding. So top decks will matter quite a bit for a very short round 3 if Talbot keeps pushing here. And no Cantarella answered, answering that Ulrich from Hannah-chan, so Talbot can really push all the way here. A 1 card even if he wanted to.
He
that
can if he
restore.
wants to, and with that restore, he does have a very powerful 1-card situation available to him.
He has to pass and make sure he has the pings for the Ceres to come out. Obviously with Morkvarg not in this situation, he has to be able to have at least 3 pings here, 3 reses.
Wow, the draws here are so crucial. Both players looking for huge power draws. More
Big
bronzes come
Varmey.
out. Oh, Vesemir's? Okay, Vesemir's mulliganed into, but he's looking at his alchemy list.
No golds, no Coral there from Talbot either. Just bronze and a restore, which restore could be a golden struggle really. But there's Hannah-chan stealing away that strength and bear in the end,
That's a big take for Hannah-chan.
coming back to punish Talbot for that round 1 play.
Talbot, of course, has the restore, but just to lose that strength and Freya res is a big deal.
And Talbot, he needs to use the Spear Maiden on that Bear Master. Just mulliganing 1 away into this deck, so he knows that he has the opportunity to do so. It is not a dead Spear Maiden, but Vesemir for Hannah-chan and the no Coral for
Oh, here we go, it's
Talbot.
runestone time.
Tomfoolery. Enough.
Tomfoolery. Oh, is it
Not
going to
the
be
greatest pulls.
Nilfgaardian Gate? He's looking.
Looking for officers.
No, Surrot, okay. Just played for pure points.
They're dead already.
Not the greatest runestone, but pretty great Vesemir just in general.
Yep.
Vesemir normally gets a lot of points there, and 19 points is nothing to scoff at in this very short round 3.
That's the second time today you've taken my nothing to scoff at line, and I'm not amused. But yeah, Vesemir, of course, offsetting the low value, generally slightly lower on the curve runestone. But when tutored from Vesemir, it does, of course, prop it up enormously, and yeah, 19 points play is nothing to scoff at.
And Talbot just missing a lot of value here. I mean, Restore is great, but everything else is looking pretty lackluster in this fairly short round. He does have a chance to get the Ceres out still. Obviously, we see Restore, Freya, and the Bone Talisman.
Certainly do. Black Blood's variance is going to be huge here. You need to see it come out strong for Hannah-chan.
That last few ointments there. Novice once again into the last ointment of the deck. Make sure to get all the points possible. The cycling here and the Viper Witcher.
Yeah, Viper Witcher representing 15 points on the drop, as unlike Talbot's build, Hannah-chan runs 10 alchemy cards, the runestone being the additional.
And a huge gap already. Sarah's still at 3 ticks.
So Talbot playing for survival, Hannah-chan playing potentially his final round to win Gwent Open number 4. Enormous stakes are up for grabs. Here he comes. Here comes the 8 strength Bearmaster. One of this deck's most powerful players. Black Blood comes out.
Into a Ghoul, which is a very, very good option from Black
Nice,
Blood.
yeah.
And no Coral to counter from Tillbot. We mentioned it before, but not a good top deck from Tillbot.
A 25-point gap between these two players and a 15-point Viper Witcher to come, which has a max value target.
I think
That's 40 points of value to overcome.
Tillbot knows that he doesn't have the chance to get the
Doesn't have it.
Ceres res. There isn't a Bone Talisman left. You can't cycle into that. I mean, yeah, it's still at 2 ticks and only 1 res
Doesn't
left.
have it. This Viper Witcher is going to be too much. This is going to be Hannah-chan playing his alchemy to victory.
Last play
Unless
here from
Tillbot can
Tillbot.
summon an enormous Marauder, but it's just not going to be enough. And there you go, Hannah-chan takes it with a
Gwent
score of
Open,
3-1.
number 4 champion. Finally, Hannah-chan finds the win here. The first finals attempt for him and also the first ever tournament win for an Asian player. I think all Chinese fans are very, very proud of Hannah-chan here.